Everyone thought it was just another homeless child shouting nonsense. Until Keanu Reeves froze mid-bite. The boy screamed, "Don't eat that." People laughed. Some walked away. But what Keanu did next exposed a terrifying truth. And within minutes, police were on the scene. This wasn't kindness. This was a moment that saved lives. And changed one child forever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. Wait. Don't eat that. The shout cut through the noise of the busy street like a blade. People stopped mid-step. Conversations died instantly. Heads turned from every direction. Keanu Reeves had just lifted a wrapped sandwich toward his mouth. The smell of fresh bread still hung in the air. He froze, his hand suspended inches from his face, eyes widening slightly as the sudden voice echoed again in his mind. Standing a few feet away was a homeless child, no older than 10. The boy looked small against the crowd. His jacket was torn at the sleeves, his shoes didn't match, and dirt streaked his face. But what stood out most was his expression. Pure fear mixed with desperate urgency, like someone who knew something terrible was about to happen. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then reactions began to ripple through the crowd. Some people laughed nervously, shaking their heads. Others rolled their eyes in annoyance. A few whispered cruelly, "What's wrong with this kid?" Keanu didn't move. Slowly, he turned his head and looked directly at the boy. There was no anger in his eyes. No irritation. Only calm curiosity. "Why?" Keanu asked softly. The child swallowed hard. His hands trembled as he clenched them into fists. It took everything in him to speak again. "Sir," the boy said, his voice shaking, "please, don't eat that." The street went quiet. Cars continued to pass, tires humming against the road. A piece of trash rolled across the sidewalk in the wind. But no one said a word. Keanu slowly lowered the sandwich. "What's wrong with it?" he asked. The boy stepped closer, his eyes darting nervously around as if he feared someone was watching. "I saw the man who gave it to you," the child said. "He's been poisoning food to hurt people who sleep outside." A sharp gasp moved through the crowd. People exchanged shocked looks. Some suddenly felt uneasy. Others stepped back. Most celebrities would have laughed it off. Most people would have ignored the warning. Most would have kept walking. But Keanu Reeves didn't. He stood there, listening to a child everyone else had dismissed. And in that single moment, on an ordinary street, with strangers watching, Keanu made a choice. A choice that would change everything. Keanu didn't throw the sandwich away. He didn't get angry. He didn't call security or look for a camera. Instead, he knelt down, right there on the dirty sidewalk, bringing himself eye level with the boy who had stopped him. People nearby paused, unsure of what they were witnessing. A world-famous actor, crouched on cracked concrete, listening like nothing else mattered. "Tell me everything," Keanu said softly. The boy hesitated at first, then the words rushed out. He had been living on the streets for months, moving from corner to corner, learning which places were safe and which weren't. He explained that a man often came by offering free food, acting generous, acting kind. But after eating it, people would get violently sick. Some collapsed. Others disappeared for days. "When I tried to warn them," the boy said, his voice barely above a whisper, "they told me to go away. They said I was lying." He looked at Keanu, eyes tired beyond his years. "But you listened." Keanu felt a tightness grip his chest. Not anger, something heavier. Responsibility. He stood up slowly and looked around. A small crowd had gathered. Phones were lowered. Conversations stopped. Did anyone else see this? Keanu asked. Silence. People avoided eye contact. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others stepped back, suddenly busy with nothing at all. Keanu nodded once. That was all he needed. Then he did something no one expected. He walked straight back to the man who had handed him the sandwich, calm, steady, without fear or drama. The man's confident smile faded the moment he saw Keanu approaching. "What's the problem?" the man asked, forcing a laugh. Keanu held up the sandwich. My friend here says this food isn't safe. The man stuttered. His eyes darted to the crowd, then to the container at his feet. Keanu didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He simply took out his phone and made a call, not to his manager, not to his publicist. He called the local authorities. Within minutes, police arrived. They opened the food container while everyone watched. Inside, officers found expired ingredients, contaminated supplies, and substances that had no place near human consumption. The man was taken away in handcuffs. The crowd stood stunned. Keanu walked back to the boy, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "You did the right thing." This time, everyone believed him. The police examined the food carefully, their expressions changing as they looked deeper into the packaging. What appeared harmless on the outside told a very different story within. Hidden beneath layers of wrapping were substances that had no business being anywhere near food, contaminants that could have caused serious harm. A sharp gasp rippled through the crowd as the truth became undeniable. The man was arrested on the spot. Sirens faded into the distance as officers led him away, but the tension lingered. Reporters arrived almost instantly. Cameras clicked. Phones were raised high. Within minutes, the story began spreading across social media, headlines forming in real time, comments pouring in from people who had only just heard about what happened. Yet Keanu wasn't focused on any of it. While the crowd buzzed with shock and excitement, he turned back to the boy, who now stood off to the side again, small and unnoticed, as if history were about to repeat itself. His shoulders were slumped, his hands tucked into sleeves that were far too thin for the cold. Keanu walked over and crouched beside him. "You just saved lives," Keanu said quietly. The boy froze. No one had ever said words like that to him. His eyes filled with tears, and he tried to blink them away, embarrassed by the attention. "No one ever says that to me," he whispered. Without hesitation, Keanu removed his jacket and gently wrapped it around the child's shoulders. The fabric was warm, heavy, and real, like the moment itself. "You matter," Keanu said firmly, looking him straight in the eyes. "Never forget that." The noise around them faded. The crowd went silent. Some people cried openly. Others looked down, ashamed. They realized what they had done, or failed to do. They had ignored the boy. They had dismissed his warnings. They had judged him by his clothes, his age, his place on the sidewalk. All the signs had been there. They just hadn't wanted to see them. But Keanu did. He didn't see a homeless child. He didn't see a nuisance or a distraction. He saw courage, the bravery to speak up when no one listens. He saw honesty, the willingness to tell the truth even after being mocked. And above all, he saw humanity. That day didn't just expose a crime. It exposed a choice. To look away, or to kneel down, listen, and believe. Keanu bought the boy a warm meal from a small, trusted restaurant nearby. Not charity food. Not leftovers. Real food, chosen with care. Then he did something even more unexpected. He sat down beside the boy on the curb and ate with him. Not standing over him. Not surrounded by assistants. Just two people sharing a meal on cold concrete. There was no special treatment and no separation. No one above the other. Just two humans, equal in that moment. As they ate, Keanu asked about the boy's life, not out of pity, but genuine interest. The boy spoke slowly at first, then more freely. He talked about losing his parents far too young, about moving between shelters, about nights spent listening for footsteps instead of sleeping. He talked about how people looked through him as if he wasn't really there. "Invisible," he said. Keanu paused, then looked at him and spoke with quiet certainty. "You're not invisible to me." Those words landed heavier than the food. For the first time in a long while, the boy felt seen, not as a problem, not as a warning sign, but as a person. The next day, Keanu went back to his life as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Quietly, without drawing attention, he helped arrange real support for the child. Education assistance. Safe, stable housing. Medical care to address issues no one had bothered to ask about before. No press release followed. No carefully worded post appeared online. There were no photos, no hashtags, no applause requested. He didn't do it to be known. Most people only learned about what happened because a witness, someone from the crowd, shared the story online. The post spread fast. Within hours, it was everywhere. Comments flooded in. People shared it with tears, with anger, with hope. Headlines appeared soon after. Keanu Reeves listens to homeless child and saves lives. Journalists reached out. Interview requests piled up. Cameras waited. Keanu refused them all. When someone finally managed to ask him why, he didn't give a speech. He didn't talk about kindness or fame or responsibility. He simply said, "He warned me. I listened. That's it." And in that simple answer was the entire lesson. Sometimes, changing a life doesn't require power or money or fame. Sometimes it starts with something much smaller and much harder. Listening. That day wasn't really about a sandwich. It was about something far bigger, something deeper, something the world forgets far too easily. It was about listening to voices society has learned to ignore. The quiet ones. The uncomfortable ones. The people who don't have influence, money, or a platform to amplify their truth. It was about believing someone who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by speaking up. No reward. No recognition. Just the hope that someone, anyone, would listen. It was also about kindness without cameras. In a world where good deeds are often measured by likes and views, this moment stood apart. There was no performance. No script. Just a choice, to kneel instead of walk away, to listen instead of dismiss, to act instead of assume. The homeless child didn't just stop Keanu Reeves from eating dangerous food. He reminded the world of something we forget too often. Wisdom doesn't come from wealth. It doesn't wear expensive clothes or arrive with confidence and polish. Sometimes, wisdom speaks with a trembling voice, from someone the world has already decided doesn't matter. Truth doesn't come from fame. It isn't louder because someone is famous, and it isn't quieter because someone is poor. Truth is truth, no matter who carries it. And heroes don't always look powerful. They don't always stand tall in suits or speak into microphones. Sometimes, a hero is a child standing on a sidewalk, hungry, cold, and ignored, yet brave enough to warn a stranger, even after being dismissed again and again. That child had nothing. No safety. No status. No guarantee anyone would listen. Except courage. And that courage changed everything. It exposed wrongdoing. It protected lives. It reminded a crowd, and later millions online, that humanity isn't defined by what we own, but by how we treat each other. Keanu's role mattered, yes. He listened. He believed. He acted. But the heart of the story belongs to the child, the one who spoke when it would have been easier to stay silent. Because sometimes, the greatest act of kindness isn't giving money, or fame, or help. Sometimes, it's something far simpler, and far rarer. It's stopping, kneeling down, and truly listening. That's how lives change.